Come on.
'Cause tonight will be the night that I will fall for you over again. Don't make me change my mind.
Welcome to Core Picks. This is Gerard, and today we're going to be doing a best bets video for UFC Fight Night, Adesanya versus Pyfer. Now, this is the UFC Seattle edition, but before we get into the best bets, we got to talk about last week's results for UFC Fight Night, Evloev versus Murphy. Now, on this UFC London card, as you can see, we did all right. We had a 89% ROI for UFC London. We risked 4.3 units on the card and got back 3.81 units in profit. So not too bad for this card. We had a moonshot 5-leg parlay that almost hit, and we risked 0.3 units on that. We had the Mason Jones to win, the Luke Riley, Christian Leroy Duncan, Al-Sawadi at underdog odds. And we missed with the under 2.5 rounds on the Michael Page versus Sam Patterson. Now, originally, we didn't have the Al-Sawadi and the under 2.5 on the Michael Page. Instead of that, we had the Danny Silva underdog in place of those two bets. And had we done that, that would have cashed with the Danny Silva play, but I thought we were being a little bit more conservative by putting Al-Sawadi instead and the under 2.5 on Michael Page. I thought there was a potential for a finish from either side of Sam Patterson by sub or a Michael Page with a knockout, but we missed on that. 0.3 units to get back 11.95, or it wasn't 0.3, it was 0.3 units to get back around 3 units, I believe. And that one didn't hit. Another 2-leg parlay that didn't hit was the Luke Riley parlayed with the over 2.5 on the women's fight, Ravina Oliveira versus Chanel Dyer. And that was too bad on that one. I really thought women's MMA would be able to reach that 2.5, but Ravina couldn't withstand the onslaught that Dyer was putting out with the striking. But we only lost 1 unit on that one. So overall, we're down 1.3 units from those 2 bets. But on the last 3 bets, we had 3 parlays. One was Michael Page and the Luke Riley, which we risked 1 unit to get back 1.4 units. That one hit. The second parlay, Mason Jones to win and Al-Sawadi to win. We risked 1 unit on that. We got back 2.41 units. That's a 241% ROI on that bet. And our final bet, which I did mention in last week's Best Bets video, Mason Jones, Montas, and Christian Leroy Duncan in a 3-leg parlay. We risked 1 unit on that. We got back 1.3 units, which is 130% ROI on that 3-leg parlay. And overall, not a bad night. We got back 89% ROI, and we're up 3.81 units on that UFC London card. So we're getting back into profitability now. So moving on into UFC Fight Night, Adesanya versus Pyfer. I really mainly have one best bet right now, and it will be a 2-leg parlay. And what I'm looking at is we're going to go with the under 1.5 rounds on the Kyle Nelson, Terrance McKinney as the first leg. That's at a minus 220 on BetOnline currently. And the second leg will be this woman's fight, Gabriela Fernandez versus Casey O'Neill. And we'll be taking the over 2.5 at minus 250. And I think both of these spots, these overs and these unders, are potential borderline locks on their own. So you can see minus 220, minus 250. Those are very favorite odds, but if you put them together, you get a plus 104 2-leg parlay. And I think that's a very decent spot and very decent odds for that 2-leg parlay. women's fight over 2.5. Gabriela Fernandez has never been finished. When she loses, she goes into decision. Casey O'Neill, on the other hand, if we look at Casey O'Neill, she did lose by an armbar against Ariana Lipski da Silva. And if we look, that was in a round 2. So that is a potential scary part if Fernandez can find a finish on Casey O'Neill. But as you can see, her only losses are these 2 losses, one by decision against Jennifer Maia, and the other one was an armbar back in 2023. But other than that, that's the only time that Casey O'Neill has ever been finished. And as for Fernandez, we look at her losses. She's only lost by decision against Teresa Bleda and Jasmine Jasdavicius. And also way back when, in her earlier days, also went to the decision. So in this woman's fight, I really see most of this in a stand-up fight. And usually in a woman's stand-up fight, you don't see too many finishes unless someone with big power. And if I were to say who has the power, it's Gabriela Fernandez. She's really the one who's throwing power in her striking. And then Casey O'Neill is more of a volume striker, tries to overwhelm you, probably win by points in the decision volume striking match. So that would be Casey O'Neill's way of victory, though in the past she has had some wins by submission, standing rear naked choke way back in 2021. But other than that, she has been able to get some ground and pound finishes in the UFC. But as we can see, Gabriela Fernandez, she's actually very durable, very game, and has never been finished herself and has only lost by points. So this is a woman's fight that I think can really hit even at minus 250, the over 2.5. I think this fight can really go to a decision. And yeah, I think that's a potential lock to go to a decision. Gabriela Fernandez, Casey O'Neill, staying up in the stand-up and not getting finished. Maybe some grapple exchanges, but only one girl's been finished one time. That's Casey O'Neill. And she's never been finished by striking, so let's hope that works out. And I think that will hit. And as for the Kyle Nelson, Terrance McKinney, I mean, there's not much to break down. You can see Terrance McKinney, Mr. T-Rex, Kyle Nelson. This fight, most people got Terrance McKinney winning. His last loss was a finish to Chris Duncan. But as you can see in any Terrance McKinney fight, there's not much to break down. He's Mr. All Gas, No Breaks. Round 1 finish, loss, Chris Duncan. Round 1 finish, Borishev, round 1 finish. This one, Esteban Ribovic, he lost. Round 1 finish. Round 1 finish. A lot of round 1 finishes in the UFC. Round 1 finish here. Whether it's a win or a lose, he lost to Nazim Sadikov early in the second round. He lost to Ishmael Bonfim early in the second round. And round 1 finishes, round 1 wins, round 1, round 1, round 1. So all his UFC fights have been finishes mostly in round 1 or early in round 2. So the under 1.5 I think has a pretty high likelihood of hitting. Not much to break down there, but as you can see, I think this is a decent bet. 2-leg parlay, over 2.5, a woman's fight. One person's only been finished one time in her whole career. And as for Terrance McKinney, under 1.5 is basically been so far in the UFC 100% hit rate. So 2-leg parlay plus 104, I think that's a decent bet on this card. That's really the main bet. That's the main bet. That's my free bet. 2-leg parlay plus 104. I think that's a decent spot. Now, if I'm looking around this card, as far as underdogs, honestly, I'd say there is some underdog potential on this card, and some of the ones I'm looking at is obviously the Joe Pyfer. Adesanya is on a losing streak. Joe Pyfer is climbing up on the rankings. He has some big power, and he has more ways to win. Adesanya still being the favorite, plus 130 Pyfer. For me, this fight is a dog or pass for me. I mean, I still respect Adesanya. He's only lost to the best of the best. So Pyfer moving up, potentially taking a top 5 spot and being a contender for the belt. And as for another potential one, underdog, Alexa Grasso, I mean, she's already beaten Maycee Barber, but that was back when Maycee Barber was really young. I think she might have been like only 21 or 20 or something. So Maycee Barber's coming for that revenge. But I mean, plus 160, Grasso has only lost to the best of the best, the top tier. Her last 2 losses are potentially current champions and potentially about to be the next champion, maybe Natalia Silva. So those are 2 losses that are very high. This is a step up for Maycee Barber. She's already lost to Alexa Grasso once. Maybe she can get it, but I think Grasso is very live at plus 160. That's a decent underdog, I think. If there's any other underdogs, so the upset potential here is going to be Julian Erosa. He's a potential upset. And I mean, plus 285, if you know anything about Julian Erosa fights, if he makes it out the first round against a big hitter, big left hooks by Lerryan and Douglas, doesn't get knocked out in the first round, Erosa's very live to get a win on this one. And he's had a lot of plus 200 something wins as an underdog. So I wouldn't be too quick to fade Julian Erosa. So he's been beating some prospects as well. So we shall see if that upset comes to fruition. So that's another potential underdog. See, a decent underdog possibly is that at plus 110, Yousri. He's already beaten a potentially better prospect than Mansur Abdul-Malik, who also has some grappling and wrestling, but Mansur Abdul-Malik may be just a different type of athlete. Maybe maybe Yousri hasn't faced the type of physicality that Mansur Abdul-Malik will bring in this fight. So he was bigger odds in that last fight against Musayev, but now people are putting respect on Yousri's name. He's gone up against Adesanya and I think Alex Pereira in kickboxing before and has done well, looked good in those fights. So in this one, I think Yousri is a very live dog, plus 110. A lot of people, he's a popular dog, so that might be a little bit concerning. That might be a little bit of a trap, maybe, that he's a popular dog, but nonetheless, I think this could be like a 50-50 fight, honestly. Plus 110 Yousri. It could cash, but I don't know. And now, like the fight that we just been talking about, Terrance McKinney can finish anybody, really. He has a chance to finish anybody in round 1, and he can get finished himself by anybody. If the fight goes longer than 1 round, he's all gas, no brakes. He may just get gas out and then just have no heart to stay in the fight if things don't go his way. And then Kyle Nelson may finish him even towards the end of round 1 or early in round 2 if Terrance McKinney can't get Kyle Nelson out of there. And Kyle Nelson is a pretty tough guy, but I mean, this looks like a setup for possibly a Terrance McKinney bounce back, but I wouldn't be surprised if Kyle Nelson pulls this out and finishes Terrance McKinney, who can't find a way to finish Kyle Nelson, and Nelson just outdogs Terrance McKinney and ends up winning. So these potential underdogs on this card, I think, can possibly cash. So you got Kyle Nelson, Yousri, Alexa Grasso, Joe Pyfer, Julian Erosa. These 5 fighters, I think, on this card are very live to win their fights as an underdog. So those are other potential underdog spots, but obviously the best bets here for me on this card right now is the over 2.5 on Fernandez and O'Neal, and the under 1.5 on Kyle Nelson and Terrance McKinney at plus 104. Now that's a free bet for you guys. Last week's best bets, all of the parlays, the last video hit, all the 2 legs and 3 legs. So hopefully we keep it rolling, we keep it rocking, and this week's best bet also hit. So that's the best bets video. Make sure you like, subscribe, keep tuning in, and we're going to keep bringing it. This is Gerard, and I'm out.
People, Earth, I need to say something. Listen to me. I hope every one of you behind your screens or in this arena can feel this level of happiness just one time in your life. I hope all of you can feel how happy I am just one time in your life. But guess what? You never feel this level of happiness if you don't go for something in your own life. When they knock you down, when they try on you, when they talk about you, and they try to put their foot on your neck. If you stay down, you will never ever get that resolve. Fortify your mind and feel this level of happiness as you rise. One time in your life, but I'm blessed to be able to feel this again and again and again and again and again.